Hello YouTube. This is the next video of the processed 9mm brass. In this one we're going to trim and kind of finish the brass up. So for trimming we're going to use Lee's Quick Trim. This is a press mounted option and it uses a die body. So very cool. So this die body is only good for one caliber. And to install it, you just want to turn that die all the way in till it stops, all the way down to the press. And you will need your case holder there. And I have two types, or the two styles or types of trimmers. I have the handheld hand crank, and this one's got the automatically deburrs on it with these little blades. There's 3 blades in there. And then I have the standard value cutter, and it's just got the cutting blades. So this is the deluxe head and this is the value. And of course this will go on an electric screwdriver, and this is the handheld, but you can swap these out so they're interchangeable. The inside of the deluxe has 3 springs and a ball bearing, so when you're taking it apart or taking it off this handle to install it on this, you got to be careful of that, that way springs don't go flying. And these are adjustable as far as length, that your trim length. So you can hear that click. So that would be the longest setting, or not the longest, that would remove more material from the case and actually make the case shorter. That would remove less and make the case a little bit longer. So if you're firing a case and you're going to refire it, the more you take off, the less you have to trim the next time, or you may not have to trim at all. And it comes with a cool little kind of tray here that kind of catches the shavings, or helps to catch it, and a spacer for the actual bit, and that's for using on 30-06 and stuff like that. So one thing you want to remember when you're trimming these, let's get some brass out, is when you install this into the shell holder and raise up, you'll notice that that die kind of lifts up a little bit there. You can see it. You can see it move up. You can see it even more. Notice it's lifting up the trimmer, and it's lifting up a little bit of the die right there. So what you want to make sure of is when you go to lift, you have to have a little pressure on your press arm, but you want to push all the way down on the cutter, and if you had it on a screwdriver, all the way down on it. Because if you don't, what's going to happen, because the way this is designed, these little cutter blades, you're not going to trim. You're just going to be cutting on those blades, and it's just going to mar the whole top of this up, and it's going to look horrendous. So make sure you push that all the way down. So we're going to put this on the, I guess, the high setting, removing the most, and we'll see how much we remove. And this is based off feel, and you can hear it a little bit. But when you first start cutting, you're going to feel, a little resistance, and it's going to be a little grainy. And then all of a sudden it's going to get real smooth, and it'll sound smoother too. And you know that you've bottomed out and you've trimmed as much as you can off that brass. So if we look at the face of that, you can see how much shinier it is. We didn't remove a whole lot of material on that one. Let's try one more. Raise it up, mash all the way down, turn. Okay. Not a whole lot, but got a little bit off. Maybe I turned that the wrong way. Let's see here. I don't think I did, but it's a possibility. Oh, I know. I see where all it got hung up in the die. So you can see where all the shavings went. Alright, there's a lot of shavings there. So I probably did have it on the correct setting. They just somehow got hung up in that dye. So this is, try one more. And that one, I started out pushing down wrong. I thought I was. And this is a good example of how it will booger that up. See how it just kind of just took the outside? So that's a ruined case right there. So not a good case. Check my cutter. And it's a good idea to kind of wipe off your shell holder right there. Some of that brass will get on it. So raise it all the way up, apply a little pressure to your handle, push down till you feel it stop cutting. There we go. It's a good case. Got a little bit out. I bet some got stuck. Okay. So this actually, it deburrs it inside and outside. Next thing we want to go to is I use the Case Prep Express. It works real well. This is the Case Prep Express. I use this after I trim my brass, and 9mm, a lot of people don't trim it. You may not have to. I've just always trimmed my brass, but after I trim, then I'll go to this station. And this station, even though our bit will deburr and all that, in case you get the value and doesn't deburr, you have that option here. So inside, this is the VLD. I think it's called VLD. And then the outside, this is a flash hole deburr. It's not set up for 9mm. It's set up for, I think, 308 right now. So it's adjustable. And this is a primer crimp remover. And this is a primer pocket uniformer. So that's really good there. And of course, if you don't want to invest like $100+, I think I got this for, it was on sale, so I didn't pay that $100+. You can always get hand tools. So you can buy a kit with individual pieces like this and swap them out on the handles. So these all come off. So these work just as good. It's just you're using your hand. So if you're doing a lot, this is the way to go. So we'll just kind of look at it. So if I've got one here, do the inside chafer, deburr, and then if we had that set up, you know, we could hit it. And then this is for your primer pocket crimp, or your primer crimps. And this is my favorite tool here, the primer pocket uniformer. So I use that a lot. The only downside to this is I have to kind of dust that off. So one thing I did want to show you is, you remember these Max Tech cases that had this huge piece of metal on the inside. Well, I've got another one here. It's Max Tech too, but it's a standard case. It doesn't have that crazy metal inside of it. You know, see, I mean, it's a Max Tech. I don't know if you can read that head stamp or not. But there's subtle differences to these cases, especially on the head and the rim part where the extractor groove is. You can see on this other one, it's kind of rounded over. This is more straight here. So a little bit difference in there. I'm not sure if they're retooled or what, but definitely watch for those. So while I'm in this process and I'm going through this, I'm inspecting these cases. You know, like I said before, you're going to inspect cases throughout the whole entire process, and it's good to do that. And then once you get through with, you know, processing one, have another bin to drop it in, and just drop it in. Now, we talked earlier on that same video where we talked about the primer pockets. You know, what do you do about them? Well, you can swage them out, or you can use this actual cutter head here to remove it. So if we look at these two, you can see that they've been crimped. And the one on the right is, or the left, is kind of crazy looking. Never seen a head stamp quite like that. But you can see the difference in the way those primer pockets look. So let's clean one or get rid of that crimp. So you just put it on there, run it a little bit, and you can kind of tell when you remove it. I don't want to get a whole bunch out, but I probably went a little bit too much on that. I got a little bit too aggressive. So you can see I got a little bit too much out. I don't need that much. And then the next one, there we go, that's about perfect. So we look at these two now, you can see the difference. You see how dirty those are? Now these haven't been cleaned in the wet tumbler. That's why they look that dirty. They do have a cleaning attachment. It's a primer pocket cleaner that you can actually install on these, but to be honest with you, I've never used it. To me, the best thing to use would be this uniformer. It may or may not get it as clean as you want, but it's definitely going to uniform it. So we can see the difference inside those primer pockets already. So that's going to give you a flush fit on that primer when it goes down. And you'll be more consistent with ignition on that. So that's how I trim and process brass for a 9mm. So you can see I got a lot to do. These quick trim dies, they work great. Startup costs, like I mentioned before, it's going to be cheap. If I did mention it, it's going to be cheap up front, but in the long run, because you have to buy individual dies for the individual cases, long term it's probably going to be more expensive. So hopefully I can merge both these into one video and won't have to have a part 1 and part 2. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I answered some questions, and maybe you got something out of this. So happy loading, and I'll see you on the next video.